The morning sun streamed through the tall windows of Jefferson High as students shuffled into their classrooms, some dragging their feet, others buzzing with chatter. The air was thick with anticipation because today a new teacher was starting, a young woman named Ms. Aria Blake. She had an approachable smile, soft brown hair tied neatly in a bun, and a gentle but confident demeanor. Many students were curious, some indifferent, but a few saw her arrival as an opportunity to test boundaries. Aria was aware of the challenges that came with teaching in a school notorious for its rowdy teens, yet she carried herself with calm determination. She wasn't just there to teach English literature, she was there to prove that respect could be earned without shouting or fear. By the second period, she was already at the front of her classroom, writing on the board with steady strokes. The students whispered and giggled, sizing her up. Among them were three notorious bullies, Derek, Kyle, and Mason, boys who had made it a habit to challenge every authority figure. They leaned back in their chairs, smirking, whispering loud enough for her to hear, daring her to react. Aria didn't flinch. She turned, smiled, and began her lesson with unwavering grace, speaking clearly about the themes of courage in classic literature. Her voice carried a calm that silenced the room more than anger ever could. The bullies, however, were not impressed. Derek, the ringleader, whispered something crude, and the others burst into laughter. The class grew restless, waiting to see how she would handle it. Instead of ignoring them, Aria walked closer, her calm gaze settling on Derek. "Do you have something you'd like to share with the class?" she asked gently. For a moment, he faltered, surprised by her composure, but quickly masked it with arrogance. "Yeah," he sneered. "You think you can tell us what to do? You're just some newbie." The tension thickened. The other students leaned forward, caught between fear and curiosity. Aria didn't scold him, she simply smiled and replied, "Respect is not demanded, it's earned. I hope to earn yours." Her response disarmed many, but not the bullies. The trio decided they needed to make an example of her. During the next lesson, while she turned to write on the board, Derek suddenly tugged at her blouse, ripping it at the shoulder seam. A collective gasp echoed through the room. Some students covered their mouths, others looked horrified, while a few chuckled nervously. Aria froze for a brief moment, her hand instinctively reaching to hold her torn shirt. Her face flushed, not with embarrassment, but with controlled fury. Derek stood smirking, certain he had humiliated her, but he had no idea what was about to happen next. Slowly, Aria turned around, her eyes narrowing, not in anger but in resolve. The room went silent, the tension so thick it was almost suffocating. "Stand up," she said softly, but her tone left no room for disobedience. Derek scoffed, "A what?" Yet he stood, perhaps compelled by something in her commanding presence. Aria stepped back, adjusted her posture, and before anyone could blink, she grabbed his arm, pivoted smoothly, and with practiced precision, sent him crashing onto the floor with a flawless judo throw. The classroom erupted into gasps and shouts. The impact left Derek stunned, staring at the ceiling, his arrogance shattered. Before Kyle and Mason could react, they lunged forward to defend their friend, but Aria was quicker. She sidestepped, hooked Kyle's leg, and sent him tumbling down beside Derek. Mason hesitated, but pride forced him forward, only to find himself flipped and pinned in one swift motion. Within seconds, the three bullies were groaning on the floor, their bravado gone. The classroom was stunned into silence, the only sound the bullies' heavy breathing. Aria adjusted her torn blouse with composure, her expression calm, almost serene. She looked at the rest of the class and said firmly, "Violence is not the answer, but neither is cruelty. What you saw today is a lesson. Every action has consequences." Her words hung in the air like a mantra, sinking deep into the minds of her students. Even those who had once snickered at authority now looked at her with newfound respect, admiration even. The principal rushed in moments later, alerted by the noise. He froze at the sight of the bullies sprawled on the floor and the calm teacher standing tall. Before anyone could explain, Aria spoke. "They disrespected me, they disrupted the class, and they crossed a line. I will not tolerate abuse. But I believe they can change if they're willing to learn." Her words carried weight, a mix of firmness and compassion. The principal, astonished, nodded slowly. The students had never seen an adult handle the bullies with such dignity. Derek, groaning, sat up with shame written across his face. He avoided her gaze, realizing the power balance had shifted. The boys were escorted out, but something had changed in them too. For the first time, they felt the sting of humiliation not from weakness, but from being outclassed by someone who refused to be broken. The story of the new teacher's judo throw spread like wildfire through the school, and whispers of her strength carried down every hallway. In the days that followed, the classroom dynamic transformed. Students who had once been rowdy now sat with attentiveness. Whispers turned into quiet respect, and mocking laughs turned into genuine curiosity. Even Derek and his friends, humbled by their fall, began to tread more carefully. Arya never gloated, never raised her voice. She treated them the same as everyone else. Firm but fair. Over time, even the bullies began to show small signs of respect, nodding slightly when she passed, keeping their antics at bay. The incident became legendary, but for Arya it wasn't about glory. It was about showing her students that strength lies not in cruelty, but in self-control. She had taught them more than literature that day. She had taught them resilience, discipline, and the importance of boundaries. For Clara, a shy student in the back row, it was life-changing. She whispered to a friend, "She showed us we don't have to be afraid." Arya had done more than win respect. She had given her students courage. Weeks later, Derek approached her after class. He stood awkwardly, scratching the back of his neck. "I'm sorry," he muttered. "I was wrong." Arya smiled gently, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Apologies are the first step to change," she said. It wasn't about revenge, it was about growth. The boy who once tried to humiliate her now looked at her with something close to admiration. That was the true victory. By the end of the semester, Ms. Blake's class became one of the most disciplined and respected in the school. Students felt safe, inspired, and challenged. Her name spread beyond the school walls, whispered with awe the teacher who taught respect not through fear, but through strength and compassion. Arya Blake had become more than a teacher. She was a symbol of resilience, a reminder that even in the face of cruelty, dignity and courage could prevail. The story of the ripped shirt and the judo throw became a toll to every new student at Jefferson High, but it was not the throw they remembered most. It was the way Ms. Blake stood tall, calm and unshaken. She had shown them that real power was not about breaking others, but about standing firm in who you are. And that was a lesson none of them would ever forget. This has been another story from Echo Tales, where voices rise, truth shines, and lessons echo far beyond the moment.